Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, strange things indeed they do happen in this world. The message reads like this. I am an Afrobeat producer based here in Europe. I want to confess that there is another guy who hooked me up with a cult and how I ended up sacrificing my daughter. I never knew that music, anything that happens in music, if you see someone blowing out of nowhere, it means that the person, there is a huge possibility that they have worked with a producer who is part of a cult. The reason as to why I am saying that the producer can be part of a cult, it is because those beats that will be used on the album, they would have been prayed for by cult members, invoking the spirits of the dead or the demons, and the beat itself, it will be more like a praise and worship, like things that happens in church, but now it will be on the other side. So the musician might be innocent, might not know anything, but as for the producer who would have made the beat, he knows everything that he will be doing. Most of these songs that are written by occultists, usually they will be in support of violence, drugs, and other forms of immorality. Those are the songs all of a sudden that will go viral, just like the way that most of Afrobeats have been going viral. I remember back in those days when I was still in Tanzania, I had nothing. I was just another struggling music producer, and I had nothing. I was staying in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I was a nobody, just making beats on my laptop in a tiny one-room apartment that I shared with my two other broke guys. I had talent, that much I knew. My beats had a good sound, and I used to mix your Afro beats, bongo flavor, and something unique that I could not even describe. But talent in this world, it means nothing when you have no connections. Check most of the big musicians at the end of the day. If you sit down, you'll see that there is no talent there. It is someone that has been pushed to the public, and they make sure when they push out a musician to you such that you end up loving them. Gone are those days when people will just start to make money as a musician and then they will break records. No, these days there are people that are invited into the cult, and everything is done so that they can at least get 1,000, 1 million views wherever, Spotify, Apple Music, even on YouTube. Back in those days, I still remember on my small phone, I used to send hundreds of email to record labels around the world. Whenever I will have money to buy data, I'll buy data or airtime, and then I'll be online searching for record labels, hoping that someone would listen to my beats. I had one email. Since I could not afford to re-upload the beats and the music, I kept it in one email, and I will keep on forwarding to different record labels. I entered beat making competitions. Somehow I never won, even when I knew that my beats were better than winners. I felt like there was an invisible wall that was blocking me from ever succeeding. As I kept on pushing, that was when I thought of migrating so that I can come to Europe or to go to America. I then got a DM from a Nigerian producer. I'll just call him Big T. He was someone that I had always admired. He had worked with some biggest names in Afrobeat. His message was simple. Bro, your sound is mad. Come to Lagos, let's make magic. It had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had no money for a ticket, but he told me, don't worry, I'll handle it. A week later, I was on a flight, went to Lagos, Nigeria, with nothing but my laptop and a dream. I thought that my breakthrough had finally came. I was wrong. As I arrived in Lagos, he came with his friends. They were already drunk. They picked me up from the airport. He drove a beautiful black G-Wagon. I had never been inside a luxury car before. I could smell money, success, and power. And he was like, welcome, welcome, bro. For you are about to get so rich. That night, Big T, he took me to a mansion in Lekki. It was the kind of a house only top artists lived in. He told me that the house did not belong to him, but it belonged to another businessman who is the owner of the house. He had hooked himself with Big Tim because he wanted some of the women that he would see in some music videos, and he wanted Big Team to source those beautiful women as well as actresses for him. He had a thing for popular women. When we arrived there, I saw that there were expensive cigars that they were smoking, Hennessy, and some things that I could not even recognize. Inside there were 3 white kaftans sitting on luxury couches, smoking and laughing. I recognized one of them who was a big Nigerian music guy, and I had looked up to him for years. He introduced me to an older guy who was also in the room, and he was like, I hear you are talented. And I was like, yes, sir. There were hot women that were there. He pointed to one of the women and he was like, you want to this girl, meaning he wanted me to sleep with that girl in front of him. I was shocked. And he said, then you are not ready to make a sacrifice. I laughed, thinking he was joking. He stood up and he said, this boy is not yet ready. So the following day, when we woke up, that was when I was told that I needed to make love to a woman in front of the big guy. He was the one who was going to hook me up to people who could buy my tapes. And I said, okay, but it was very weird for me to sleep with a woman in front of other men as they would be watching you, men that were more powerful than you are in terms of money as well as influence. So that is how I did my first sacrifice. We waited until when the sun had gone down. They dimmed the light just in case if I was feeling ashamed and humiliated. They made me to sleep with that girl that he had pointed at. The guy said he had seen men making love to women before, but I had done harder and I had outperformed some others that he had witnessed. It was a weird fantasy that I had ever seen in a man, to just enjoy another man sleeping with a stranger. So I was told it was the first. Now there was a sacrifice. I was taken to a shrine, and at that shrine I was told to slaughter a black god. I won't describe what happened there, for there were minors that were there. I'm scared what might happen, but what I saw that day, what happened to the minors that we had, it still haunts me to this very day. Within a month, my beats were being bought for thousands of dollars. Just a simple beat being bought for thousands of dollars. I was invited to work with producers in Nigeria there as well as Ghana, and the last producer that I worked with before I headed for USA was South Africa. There was a guy in the United States who reached out to me when I was busy training another producer in South Africa because they wanted to make a fusion of Amapiano and Afrobeats. If he is a member of a cult, I don't know, and it is not mine to say. It is his own life. I don't know how he was hooked up to me, but I was being told that you're going to work with this guy in South Africa. So I went there and I worked with him. So for the first time in my life, I had money, but the club was not done. That was when I was told that I had to migrate to Europe where I am, but I had to go first back home. Back in Tanzania, I had my 5-year-old daughter. Her mother and we were no longer together, but still I loved my child. Then I was told that I had to take her as well as to go with her to Nigeria. And when they saw that the mother was unwilling to have me take our daughter to Nigeria, that was when I was told it was okay. I had to go back to my village and place pictures on top of my father's grave, for my father passed away when I was still very young. And I then called my wife when I returned back to the city, and I told her that since I had already gotten my visas and I was about to go to Europe, I just wanted one last vacation. She was supposed to allow me to have a short vacation with my daughter, and she agreed. I then took my daughter. We went on a vacation and we went to Bagamoyo in our country, and it was a beautiful trip that we were having. But when I was there, I kept on seeing visions of my daughter, so much that my sister, whom we had went with, kept on telling me that the baby was not feeling okay throughout the night. She was always crying, and I would see visions of my daughter screaming, asking me to go and take it back. She would come to my dreams and she will say, Dad, you need to take it back. I would ask her, What do you want me to take back? And she will be like, just go and take it back. You know what I am saying. We then returned back to the city. My daughter passed away a day before I migrated to the place where I am right now. And I then returned back to Nigeria. When I had came to this country where I am, this was after a month, taken back to the shrine because I kept on seeing my daughter, a spirit. They did the same ritual, but this time around, they took a goat and they slaughtered it. There was a woman whom I had taken, and that woman, they had dragged her because there is no normal woman whom you will just meet in a club and agree to perform those rituals. Me and her, we were the only ones that were naked in that outer room of this other man who was assisting me to chase away, to cast away the spirit of my daughter. I was naked, I was standing, and she was kneeling in front of me. She had my manhood in her mouth, not doing anything, just my manhood in her mouth. She was like totally drunk, that lady. Then the priest came with the god's blood. It was in a bowl and started pouring it on me as well as pouring it on that woman. He washed all of that bad energy from me to that woman who was kneeling before me. Where this woman went after we had dismissed her, I really do not know, but she was only used for that ritual. And I left Nigeria. I did not return to Tanzania, and then I came back to Europe, where I am currently staying. Other producers as well, they have been initiated, but the levels of initiation, they are different. But I was initiated, and I'm so much interested to know if the guy that I worked with on Afrobeats fusion with Amapiano in South Africa, we were staying in Cape Town at that time. I just want to know if he was also initiated into the same occultic group. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Hey,